Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullahi wa ala ahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's talk is entitled The Ends Justify the Means. Title like that. I have a number of problems. They are: I'm hungry. I need a job. I need somewhere to live. These are all problems I've got. I want to go to university. I need money. I need to go to London. I'm running out of fingers, I'll stop there. Now, I can solve my problems in a number of ways. Hungry. I can go and have a hamburger from Max. Guess what? I satisfy my... I want to pray. Not the MC Hammer version of I got to pray. It's a different kind of prayer. Meditate. Satisfy something else that I want to do. Or urges. I've got to satisfy them. Woman that goes by, I satisfy. I need a job. I can go down a local and pull pints for the punters at the local. That's the job. I solved my problem. I need somewhere to live. I can crash out at my girlfriend's until her mom kicks me out. I want to go to university. Why? Because I want to do a performance arts degree. Because I want to go and act in Bollywood or Lollywood or any other wood that'll take me. Issue. I need to go uni. I need money. I can sell drugs. I can push some of that leaf, natural green stuff top of Alum Rock Road. I solve another problem. I need to go to London. Why? I don't know, but I just need to go. I steal a car, I go. So, I have problems, and I have ways of solving my problems. Is my issue just getting to the end? Achieving my goal? Solving my problem? No matter how I do it, how I get to the end. Is that relevant? Or is it just getting there? That's what today is all about. I want to give you a personal example. In 1989, and some of you probably weren't alive then, you weren't even a figment of the imagination in your parents' minds. But in 1989, I did something you might call, I covered a, somewhat, I like to think, somewhat of a similar distance. You know, the Mecca to Medina. I like to think it was somewhat similar. Even though it was in opposite directions. It was from Mecca north to Medina, or I went from Bradford down to London. But nevertheless, I walked. It took me 13 days. I raised money. I got sponsorship. I built some brotherhood. I met people, some of them you know. The Raheem Green, he only been Muslim 6 months. He was there with his big stick walking down for those 13 days. Another brother called Khalil Dale. One of these people who keeps up with the press. You might have heard that name about 2-3 months ago. Hear about a worker from Dumfries in Scotland, a charity worker, killed, whose body was dismembered and bits and left on the road in Balochistan, Pakistan. Oh, he was a convert. He was also on that trip. He was killed just short little chap. He was a nurse by profession, become Muslim, and he was working with charities. And at the end of the day, when we'd walk all this distance from one city to the next, we had blisters on our feet, because he was a nurse, he knew what to do. We'd sit down like you guys are sitting here in the masjid. We'd say, oh, God, they say, oh man, my forearm, oh, blister, oh, this and that. He'd look at our feet. He'd say, yeah, don't worry about it. He'd get a swab it down, get a pin, sterilize it, get the old flame out and sterilize it, and then let all the lovely blister juices out, and then paint it with some betadine. Yeah? Better deen, yeah? Not after painting this, you have a better din, better day. Well, that was the idea, but anyway. It was called betadine. It contains iodine, yeah? It prevents infection. Anyway, so he'd paint it and would have brown feet, you know, with bits. Anyway, I mean, most people had brown feet anyway, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, and we had this other chap. Oh, he was really funny. His name was Bilal, and he was from Jabal Zaytun in Jerusalem, Mount of Olives. There were lots of interesting stories about him. He's Palestinian, obviously, and he used to work in one of these posh hotels in central London. I forget the name now. Yeah, that's in New York. It's not the Waldorf. It was one of these posh hotels. I don't know which one it was, but it was one of them. And in the 70s, or was it 60s? I forget now. Golda Meir, you know, one of the old ex-Israeli prime ministers. She was on a visit. I don't think she was prime minister at the time, or maybe she was. I don't remember. She was on a visit, and part of the security sort of check in this hotel, they refused to allow him to work in the catering staff. Why? Because he was Palestinian. Anyway, there was a lot more stories. I'm just not going into them. And then I met this other chap, a lovely young Gujarati lad, who now, if you look at him, he dons a really mashallah beard, and he was the first in the community to set up non-stunned halal meat butcher shop. Interesting people on this trip, man. I just happened to be one of the others, but there were more. There were others. Okay. So what was this personal hijrah business? What was all this about? Okay. We've done this to raise money. It was sponsored. We got some sponsorship in this, and into, I think it was the Telegraph, one of the papers, got some sort of coverage. We probably got on some radio, and then Youth of Islam joined us because it was Muslim Aid, which was a relatively new organization at that time. He started it off in something like 87, anything like that. And so he joined up for us the last day or the last couple of days or something like that. And then there was a big TV crew that was following him, and you know, a typical day in the life of Yusuf. Anyway, so we were raising, essentially what it was about was raising funds. Was trying to raise money for what? To help the needy, to help the poor. That's for another. In fact, it's so long ago, I can't actually remember what the main thing was. I think it was Africa, but I can't remember now. Because it was So it was about helping people in different parts of the world. And we raised money. And we ended in Regent's Park Mosque at the end of those 13 days. That's where we ended. I think we slept for a week after that, but anyway, you get that's what happened. Yet, not only a month later, certainly the next year. So, what do we need? Another sponsored walk, 200 miles? Collect money outside the masjid? What do I need to do? Go and put some chanda box in the shops? Put a £10 note in a charity box? Sponsor an orphan in Afghanistan? What do I do? Even if I did one or all of these things, another month's time, what would happen in another year's time? You'd have another catastrophe, another earthquake, another political instability, another uprising, another revolution somewhere else, another oppression. It continues. And my evidence for that is very simple. Look at the media. But I'll give you another easier way of working it out. In 1989, there was I could only remember about 3, maybe 4 charity organizations. Of others. I don't want to mention, I know for these two for sure, I don't want to mention a name in case I get it wrong. But there were a handful, a few, there were no others. Now, every year, there are many new charities which are set up. Why is that? Is it because the first 1 or 2 or 3 couldn't do the job, or is it because this is an unabating, this is a non-ending cycle? It just continues. And open up more charities, and yet we need even more. And are we solving anything? For me, this is like a vicious circle. There seems to be no clear end. Now we have numerous organizations, yet the solution is ever more elusive. Not in sight. Three things I want to raise with you. One, how we solve our problems. And I'm not just talking about what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Iraq, what's happening in this part of that part of the world, or what's happening in our back garden here, where we live, in our community, wherever it is, whatever the problems are. And I started off listing a number of problems, okay, personal ones. We face all kinds of issues. How do we solve our issues? How do we progress? How do we solve our problems? So number one, does it matter how we solve our problems? Number two, is it enough to feel that we are doing something, to feel that we are helping to solve a problem, even if it is momentarily? In reality, we don't. Is that 3? Is it okay to do a little? You know, you've heard this, and in fact, I'll probably find it if I look for it, but on one charity website it said something like, every penny counts. Is it okay to do a little because there's no comeback? Giving charity might be an easy thing to do. There's no comeback. And it's coupled with an immediate sense of feeling, an immediate feeling of satisfaction. Given it. I've done what I could right now. I've done what I found easy to do. And this action is not frowned upon. Politically, it's safe. No photo's going to be taken of you and displayed on some channel somewhere. There are no implications. Is it okay just to do a little, even if it is momentarily? It has a momentary effect for us in terms of how we feel. Or we feel we did something. A few things to think about then. I want to give you 3 examples. 3 points that I sort of raised and I want you to think about. Does it matter how we solve our problems? Is it enough for us to do something even though it doesn't solve the problem? And is it enough just to feel that just to have that feeling of having done something, even though in reality you came nothing? Well, a couple of I got 3 examples here. One is my own, and 2 my kids gave me. So, you know, Perry Park. What's that little stream, that brook that runs through it? It's not the River Chin, is it? What is it?
River Tame.
Is it River Tame? All right. Let's just say, you know, it's not far from where I live. Another person who frequents it, and let's say we're walking down in this lovely scenic Birmingham, Perry Park, Perry Bar Park, whatever it is, where we're in there, yeah? And we're walking and we're enjoying, getting some fresh air and all that kind of stuff, and there's a little stream running by, and it's all nice, and then suddenly the body that just floats by. If the response is this, what are we supposed to do when a person in our community dies? Fard to do janazah. It's fard to bury them. It is. Who said it isn't? It's important. So we're walking by and we see, what's going on? I see a beard. I said, that guy was... Jump in. First you check it's not too deep. Then you jump in. You take the body out. You get ready for janazah. You tell a few people. You get the coffin ready. You do your business. Dynamic thing. My friend over there, who also happens to frequent this park, the next day goes for a stroll himself. And it's not that he likes to copy what I do, but the same thing happened. He's walking down and then there's another body. What's going on? You must be thinking about. And being a good Muslim, I've got to do my duty. and do the janaza. And so, my question is, what do you do? The same thing again? Think about that one. Here's another example. This time you're at another river. I don't know why these examples were of rivers, but anyway, somebody who gave them to you must have liked rivers or something. But there you go. But this time you're fishing. Fishing. Rainbow trout. And you're on the side, you're on the bank of this river, and you're just waiting for that little fish to catch, get onto that hook, catch that bait, and get hooked, and you'll say, that's it, that's nice dinner coming up. Something happens before this fish bites onto your bait and gets caught on the hook. Suddenly there's a big splash. Guessed it. Another body falls into the river. Bridge that's nearby. You jump in. You do your breaststroke. Oh no, that's old fashioned. You do your front crawl. Whatever it is. You get to this person. You drag him out. You saved their life. Why? For one Muslim is as though you saved the whole of mankind. Good thing to do. Who said this is bad? You drive down a little bit, you go back and you think, oh man, this elusive rainbow trout, nothing's biting today. What's going on? So you sit down and you start your weight again, and yeah, you guessed it right, yeah, another person falls in from the boat. What do you do? You're waiting for that fish to bite. You might jump in again and try and save this person. Okay. So, the question is this. In both cases, something a little odd is happening. Yet our response in both cases, different. But in both cases, the response is not necessarily contrary to Islam, or is it? Well, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's up to you. Alright. Anyway, these were examples of doing the wrong thing. So I want you to think about what this might mean. A Muslim is not bitten from the same hole twice. How does that work with these examples? I've got another example for you. Alright, look. This isn't Perry Park. There is no river inside. There is no fish. And there's nobody diving in. This is a different example. In Syria. I've got a brother in Syria, a Muslim. He's cold. Hungry. He's scared. He has no. I went through all the problems I had. This brother has problems. By the riverbank, they encountered problems. They undertook certain actions. This brother may have undertaken certain actions, but there's a lot of actions happening to him. And he's cold, he's hungry, he has no medicine, he's scared. There's a lot of things happening here. How could charity help him? We don't like clothes, we like blankets, man. Because they keep you. Clothes are okay, but I don't know, I just like blankets. So, because you see, in Pakistan, when it gets cold, they don't wear extra clothes, they just put a blanket around them and walk around. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, so charity could provide, or some Muslims, individuals could try and help. How? Well, when it's cold, we need to give him a blanket. But he receives a blanket. He's hungry, so he gets cans of food. He has no medicine, so he gets a box, a first aid box, plasters, bandages, swabs, alcohol-free ones, swabs, the works. All this is good, and you have come to the aid of a Muslim, and there's reward in this. What will a blanket, a food can, a plaster, a bandage do in the face of an AK-47 bullet? The kind of reality that this individual is facing. He will still die, but not because of cold. He will still die, but not because of hunger. He will still die, but not because of infection. So again, what I'm raising with all these examples that I've given you, we face a lot of problems. We face a lot of difficulties as individuals, as a community, as Muslims throughout the world. And we've got to look at how we solve our problems and how we approach these problems. To the ends, if we solve the problem. The fact we've solved it, is that sufficient? Do the ends justify the means? Well, the solution has to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from what He has given us, and not from the solutions of man, of charity organizations, of United Nations special envoys, of the Arab League representatives, etc. Islam came to take us away from the slavery of man to the slavery of the one who created man. It is not sufficient for us to have the right intention. That's not enough. That is insufficient. A Muslim sister sees the plight of Muslims in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Afghanistan, in Syria now, in Burma, and feels strongly about this. And she feels she must raise money. She feels she must do what she can. But if she does that, number one, we've got to know what is the solution. This is the first thing. From Islam, not from my emotion, not from my political analysis, not from my feelings about the situation, necessarily by what comes on the BBC News, or Al Jazeera News if you like. So we've got to look at what is the solution from Islam to the problems that we have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He didn't give us a way of life. He didn't complete this deen having left things out. It's not things we face are compounded when we refer to solutions other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. If this sister who feels strongly about these things decides, you know what? I know that I want to help my brothers and sisters in Syria, in Burma, but I'm not able to do anything else. What I do is I raise money and I send that money. And as long as I've sent that money, I've helped them. The ends justify the means. No, because if you raise that money by prostituting herself, that doesn't justify it at all. We need to question whether sending the money in itself is the answer anyway. So we as Muslims need to think a little deeply about what is happening, what problems we face, how we solve those problems, what is the Islamic and the correct way of solving these problems, and our approach to these issues that we face. I'm going to finish with one or two hadith. A hadith from Ibn Majah. The wiping away of the world means less to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a believer to be killed unjustly. Ibn Umar narrated in Ibn Majah that I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing ta'af around the Kaaba, saying, "How sweet, how good are you, and how sweet is your scent." This is the Kaaba. How great are you, and how great is your sanctity. By the one who the soul of Muhammad is in his hand, the sanctity of a believer is greater with Allah than your sanctity. So we need to think about the problems, the issues that we face as individuals, as Muslims, as people in our community worldwide. And we need to think about prioritizing and what our priorities are and what we need to do. Do we need to be undertaking actions to solve our fundamental problems? Or do we need to be picking up banana peels off the road and spark it?